How is it going, and thank you for tuning in this video. Today I'm here to give you guys my live review of attending WWE Friday Night SmackDown for September 20th, 2024. Without wasting any time, let's go ahead and jump right into things. And of course, the very first thing I did once getting into the arena was, of course, check out the merch stand and get into the merch stand. And I will say, man, I don't know why they only had 2 booths, but it took forever. I will say I got into the line because I got there about an hour before the show started. So about like 4 o'clock I got there, and I immediately got into the merch stand, and I literally got to the merch stand with like 5 minutes before the actual like SmackDown taping started, before 5 o'clock. So I was in line for almost an hour, and it was just ridiculous. But you know what, it is what it is. Once I got towards the front, it was kind of zooming by fairly quickly. But you would think WWE would have more than just 2 merch stands at this point when you have over 10,000 people at a show. You at least have 3 or 4. So I don't know. I just think it's kind of stupid that they only have 2 stands and you have all these thousands of people. But yeah, mini rant there. But got in the line and only got one thing because as soon as I got in there, I looked at the stand, of course, to see if I even want anything. And there was one thing that caught my eye. I was like, you know what? I absolutely have to have it. Of course, here's the bag right here, which new bag. At least that I've seen from the last time I attended a WWE show, which is almost a year ago, because the last show I attended for WWE was when I went to SmackDown last year around this exact same time. So this is the new bag that I've seen from them, where it has the Fanatics logo in it as well. But the shirt I got, of course, is the hometown themed Cody Rhodes shirt, which says none other than Sacramento Nightmare right there instead of American Nightmare. Anytime they have event exclusive shirts, I always got to grab them, especially my hometown show. So I absolutely had to grab it. There's the Cody Rhodes logo, and then on the back you had the little logo right there. So that is the only thing I grabbed. But like I said, as soon as I saw it, I absolutely had to have it. And since I was in line for so long, I did miss the first 2 matches that took place. Of course, they did the WWE Speed Taping, which featured Candice LeRae taking on Piper Niven in the quarterfinals of the WWE Speed Women's Championship Tournament. Didn't see any of the match, but I do know Candice LeRae won, which actually surprised me. I thought for sure Piper would just beat her fairly quickly, but Candice got the victory. Surprised by that, so she advanced to the tournament. And they also had another dark match, which featured Baron Corbin taking on Karl Anderson. And honestly, right as I was getting to my seat, I heard Baron Corbin's music hit as I was heading to my seat. So I just missed the finish of that match, but Baron Corbin get the win. So honestly, didn't really care for either match either way. So it didn't really bother me that I missed them. But like I said, I did get to my seats minutes before the actual SmackDown show started. So I got to my seat. Very good view. I saw it in the upper section. And then, of course, jumped into SmackDown, which opened up with the Bloodline entering, security. Jacob Fatu, obviously being the hometown boy. I got a huge ovation. I think that's kind of why they gave him that little moment there with him beating up security for kind of no reason. So yeah, everyone went crazy as soon as they showed Jacob Fatu. But following that, we lead into the opening contest, which was LA Knight defending the United States Championship against Andrade. It's always exciting when the actual TV shows open up with a match instead of like a promo, because usually we get with the Raw and SmackDown, it's typically more of a promo opening show, but it's always nice to get a mix of a match opening it instead of a promo. So Andrade, LA Knight went out there and absolutely tore the house down. These two had an excellent match, really into it, some great spots. Obviously, had a spot where Andrade did the moonsault to the outside, and LA Knight had a really close call, actually, when he tried to do the moonsault when he lands, where he sticks the landing and does a moonsault standing up. He actually nearly landed on LA Knight when he landed on his feet, going into the, the backflip again. So that was a very close call there. Speaking of some close calls, LA Knight, kind of messing up his signature suplex, where he runs up on the ropes and suplexes them. Ran up, fell, ran up again, but ended up falling. But then Andrade just kind of went for a kick instead. But LA Knight got out of the way, ended up hitting blunt force trauma for the 1-2-3. LA Knight retains the United States Championship. So yeah, a lot of great stuff in this match. Really, really enjoyed it. LA Knight had a great spot as well, where he did the springboard elbow onto Andrade for a nice near fall. So some great action. Really enjoyed it. Some hard-hitting stiff shots as well from the very beginning. And yeah, I thought it was a great title defense from LA Knight. And of course, afterwards, I guess some people got some controversial takes on LA Knight not, shaking Andrade's hand, where he just kept doing the straight fist, and Andrade had to almost force him to shake his hand. But LA Knight's like, no, what the fuck are you doing? So some people don't know if there was some conflict going on between the two of them. I didn't really see much into it. I didn't really think anything of it as well when it happened. So that was what it was. But yeah, absolutely a great match, and easily a match of the night as well. Following that, of course, we had the fantastic video package of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns meeting at Georgia Tech. One thing WWE's got to do better, when the show first started and they showed what's going to happen, they showed Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at Georgia Tech, to be fair, but they labeled it face to face. And of course, everyone in the arena thought they were going to be there, because everyone reacted oh shit, they're going to be face to face. But then, of course, right before it aired, they actually fixed it where it says face-to-face at Georgia Tech. So I was like, well, I guess they kind of learned the lesson there, but they got it. They should have known better than that. I don't know why they did that, but yeah, the video package itself, I don't need to speak more words about it. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was incredible, actually. You know, people say it's cinema, and it really was. The way the presentation of it, the way it was shot. I'm gonna look forward to a lot of stuff like that in the future from WWE with, you know, whatever they want to do with, you know, doing that type of footage. But yeah, the entire segment I thought was fantastic. I thought it definitely added an element to Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, and definitely makes me more excited, honestly, for a third match. When the 40 match happened, I was content with not seeing a rematch for a while. And I'm not saying I want to see it anytime soon still, but it definitely piqued my interest to want to see these two do more in the future. So yeah, excellent, you know, video package from Georgia Tech with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And just everything, you know, Roman telling him that he's in his way, not just in WWE, but in life. Man, just excellent stuff between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Of course, following that, we had backstage Kevin Owens watching it, and then he gets asked his thoughts on it, and then he's like, nah, I'll tell you later. And then that leads into Apollo Crews taking on Giovanni Vinci, which I was hoping this match would kind of rectify what happened in his debut a couple weeks ago against Apollo, but it really didn't. Well, the match itself, I'll say for the time it was given, for like, what, a minute or two it was good. They were laying their chops in. That shit was hard hitting. Like, it echoed everywhere. Like, the little minute or two they got, I thought the work they put in was fairly good. It looked like Giovanni Vinci was going to get the win. You know, he was going for the power bomb, but Apollo Crews countered into a roll-up, and 1, 2, 3, Apollo Crews defeats Giovanni Vinci. Like I said, for the little time they got, I enjoyed it, but I just have no idea what they're doing to Giovanni Vinci. Split the poor guy up from Imperium, and then they hype him up like they're going to do something with him, and then they're just making a joke out of him. So... And of course, after that match, we had Kevin Owens backstage. Of course, asked again by Byron Saxton, hey, what are your thoughts about this? He's like, you know what, if I'm going to say something, I might as well just do it in the ring. That leads Kevin Owens coming out. And before he even says anything, the Bloodline interrupts him. And then, you know, Tama Tonga doing it. Like, he just went over-exaggerated the hell out of that, which I thought was hilarious. But they interrupt him, pretty much tell him that by orders of Sol Sikoa, they're pretty much going to kick his ass. And then that leads into a huge brawl. DIY came out to make the save for Kevin Owens. Huge brawl at ringside. Of course, no Nick Aldis comes out. And it's so loud in the arena. Honestly, I couldn't even hear what Aldis was saying. I only heard, you guys want to fight? 6-man tag. That's all I heard. I didn't hear anything else he said. So that was the main event for the night. Owens and DIY taking on the Bloodline. So, and speaking of tag team matches, following that, we had the Tornado tag team match with Bayley and Naomi taking on Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. Of course, the stipulation was whoever got the pin, if Naomi and Bayley won, whoever, you know, got the winning pin, got a title match against Nia Jax at Bad Blood. But if Nia and Tiffany won, whoever they pinned had to leave SmackDown permanently, even though we know that never applies. The match itself was enjoyable. Tiffany Stratton was over, so was Bayley, Naomi. Pretty much everyone was over. I thought it was a very enjoyable match. Everyone kept chanting, "We want tables" the entire time. I don't know what wrestling fans' obsession with tables are, but yep, it was chanted like crazy for during this match. And yeah, it was good for what it was. You know, no complaints from me. Nia Jax and Tiffany, I like them as a tag team. I thought you know, Nia Jax having them up at the Samoan drop and Tiffany doing a neck breaker was a nice little finish they could do. But yeah, there was some nice near falls and stuff like that. Some double pins going on. Nia Jax had taken out, you know, Tiffany Stratton, some nice showcasing as well. So it was a fun, enjoyable match, but the finish was very clusterfucky to me. I didn't understand really what happened. There was a nice spot as well where Nia Jax went down on Naomi when Bayley hit an elbow drop on Tiffany for a nice near fall on both of them for almost a double finish, a double pin. But speaking of double pin, Nia Jax got pinned by both Naomi and Bayley at the exact same time. But the thing is, like, Naomi's feet were clearly like under the ropes too. So like technically her feet under the ropes should have avoided the pin. But it was a double pin. Naomi and Bayley both pinned Nia at the same time. No replays, nothing. They just immediately like cut it to like video packages. So I don't know if there's actual like mess up there or what, but it was a very confusing finish. But Bayley and Naomi both pinned Nia, so logically you're like, okay, it's gonna be a triple threat then. But backstage, Nick Aldis actually announces that instead of a triple threat, they're gonna do Bayley and Naomi next week to determine who's gonna face Nia Jax at Bad Blood instead. So even though Bayley and Naomi won, they didn't win anything in the end like they're supposed to. So makes the match kind of meaningless, but what can you do? So that match is set for next week. And speaking of next week, we're gonna have Andrade and Carmelo Hayes once again because they had an excellent backstage brawl where Carmelo Hayes pretty much told him to put the fries in the bag because he's washed up, and they had just an awesome brawl. And then we had a Chelsea Green vignette of her preparing for her dumpster match with Michin, which I thought was hilarious, of her just being around dumpsters and just throwing trash around and lifting trash like it's weights. I will say this about Chelsea Green. I was never a huge fan of her. I thought even, you know, when she was first initially signed, her in NXT, and when she was briefly called up, I didn't see anything of her. So when she got released, I didn't really care. But when they brought her back, I was like, whatever. But her character work has just been flawless. She has been phenomenal in her character work, and she's won me over, and I'm always entertained watching her. So Chelsea Green, whatever she does is always entertaining. You know, I mean, in terms of in the ring, I may not really care about her that much. She doesn't really impress me that much, but in terms of character, she's always entertaining to watch. So her vignette against, you know, preparing for a dumpster match, I thought was excellent, and really enjoyed that. And then we go to the main event of SmackDown, which of course was the 6-man tag team match. Kevin Owens and DIY taking on the Bloodline. Of course, Owens comes out. DIY is supposed to come out, but they don't. They get shown backstage of them getting taken out by the Bloodline. Bloodline comes out, and Kevin Owens kind of like, all right, screw it, whatever, I guess I'll fight you guys on my own. But as he's fighting them, the Street Profits come out, and they end up replacing DIY instead. So that is a 6-man tag. But I thought that's kind of odd, because Montez kept getting the crowd to like pump it up, you know, and everyone was doing, like, the entire like arena was pumping it up with Montez. But like he was doing it just like during the commercial break. And like once like the show started, like I just didn't know if he was just trying to pump the crowd up while during commercial break or what. But I feel like he should have kept doing that during the, you know, once they come back on air. But another funny note, during the commercial break, Jacob Fatu was gonna grab the mic and they're gonna say something, but the mic wasn't working. But then the referee like ran to him, was like, "Hey, we're about to be back on time." Like you see the referee's like freaking out to him. Then Jacob just chucks the mic and just jumps back on the apron, because they're about to come back on the air. So I thought that was hilarious. And the match itself was fine, not really much to it. I thought it was a fine tag match. The Bloodline was very dominant, you know, worked over Montez a good portion of it. You know, Montez was able to shine though, you know, he was able to get his moonsault in and whatnot and look pretty good. So I'm always loved to see Montez perform. He's always an excellent performer. And the match honestly wasn't that interesting until Kevin Owens got the hot tag. That's when everyone came unglued and the match got really interesting in my opinion. Kevin Owens just had an excellent hot tag and was just going absolutely roughshod over everyone. Jacob Fatu had a great showing in this match as well. Again, like I said earlier, the hometown boy, I would expect nothing less than a good showcase. The match had a really weird ending though. Tonga Loa ended up pulling out Owens when he pinned Jacob at one point, or was it Tama? I forgot. It might have been Tama actually. But then they, you know, Street Profits and brawling some more. Owens gets back in the ring, hits a stunner on Tama. It was Tama now I think about it. Goes for the pin again, but then Tonga Loa pulls him out again and throws him in the steel steps, and the referee just calls for a DQ. So don't know how that resulted in a DQ. It didn't make any sense for me how the match got called off, but it did. Bloodline was running roughshod on Kevin Owens. Street Profits pretty much took them out. Jacob was taking Kevin Owens out. Was going to go for a huge splash, but then out of nowhere, Cody Rhodes makes the save, which I was actually genuinely surprised when Cody came out, because I knew he was going to be in the dark match, because they announced earlier that it was going to be a triple main event dark match. But I figured since he wasn't on the show at all at that point, they were just going to keep him off the show. So for Cody making the save, it was an actual genuine surprise. I thought maybe just they did beat Owens down, or maybe someone else might try to make the save. But Cody come out was an actual genuine surprise, and he got a massive pop. Place went wild. Cody had a steel chair, of course. You know, the Bloodline fended off and then put the chair down. Then, of course, you know, Kevin Owens grabbed it, and I'm like, fucking nail him. Just nail him, KO. And he doesn't, of course, but yeah, that, of course, adds more fuel to the fire. Kevin Owens able to embrace Cody, you know, shook his hand, was like, we good. But holding that steel chair, though, as SmackDown was going off the air, he's holding that chair, thinking about it. So I've said that adds fuel to the fire with, you know, Kevin Owens, with, you know, Cody teaming with Roman and everything to that story. But yeah, then SmackDown right then and there. And yeah, we immediately pretty much went to the dark matches right after Cody and Kevin celebrated for a bit. They went backstage and immediately jumped to our first dark match, which was Liv Morgan defending the Women's World Championship against Lyra Valkyria. This is actually a pretty good match for the time they got. You know, these dark matches don't typically go very long, and you don't really know how the wrestlers are going to fare. They usually kind of just joke around, which we actually got in one of the dark matches, more of a joke match. But Lyra and Liv went out there and had a pretty damn good showing, honestly. I'd probably say it's the second best match of the night. They went out there and killed it. Had some great near falls as well. You know, Lyra actually had her finish for a great near fall, but Liv got her foot on the rope. Another great spot was where Lyra went for a finish, but Liv actually countered into a code breaker. So they went out there and had a lot of great back and forth near falls, and you know, actually almost sold me that Lyra actually could have won the title. Even though I knew there was no shot of her winning the title, I was like, oh, they sold me and how good the near falls were. So towards the end though, Liv was able to fight back and was able to stun Lyra enough to hit the obliviation off the ropes on her for the 1, 2, 3. And Lyra, like, the way I saw it, it looked like she landed right on top of her head, man. It looked nasty the way Lyra sold it too. So Liv Morgan obviously retains the Women's World Championship. Like I said, very good match. I was kind of taken by surprise how well they worked together, and we'd love to see a match of theirs on TV at some point, or maybe on a PLE. And preceding that, we had Jey Uso taking on Drew McIntyre, and this was more of the joke match that I was referring to earlier. You know, Jey came out, everyone's yeeting, of course, and McIntyre came out, and pretty much the match was Jey going yeet, and then McIntyre responding with, that was like literally half the match, was yeet, yeet. That's literally what it was. And then McIntyre, because he had his kilt on, he was wearing it, and because the crowd was booing him, he was like, you know, kind of doing like the Rick Rude, like, hip thrust back and forth. He was going to do that like to take off the kilt, but he's like, you know, since we were booing him, we weren't getting sexy McIntyre in the match, so that led to him getting booed. And Drew actually worked the crowd. There was a spot where they both got laid out, and Drew tried to do the kip up, but he actually didn't land on his feet. He like landed but slipped back, and he was trying to sell it like his leg got hurt. So props out to Drew, being the professional that he is, played that off very well. Played off like his knee was hurt, and then of course, you know, Jey was trying to get it, and the referee was like, no, he's hurt. But then, you know, McIntyre poked his eye, laughed at everybody, like, I fooled you. Took off the kilt finally, and hit a GTS on Jey, which I thought was great because everyone was chanting CM Punk at that moment. But hit a GTS on Jey for a 2 count, and then McIntyre was lining up for the Claymore, did the whole 3, 2, 1 thing, but he went for it. Jey hit a super kick, and then followed by a spear, and 1, 2, 3. Jey Uso defeats Drew McIntyre just like that, and I was genuinely surprised because, I mean, obviously the dark match, it doesn't matter who wins or loses, but I still thought McIntyre would beat Jey. I was genuinely surprised to see Jey beat Drew clean like that. So Jey beats Drew. Not, like I said, nothing of a match. Like I said, it was mainly comedy, and then they did some spots. You know, Drew worked over Jey, did like a freaking suplex, and, you know, did some holds and whatnot, but it really wasn't much to it. It was a short match. It was only like 7, 8 minutes, so really wasn't much to it. And like I said, half it was really just yeet. And then we go to our actual main event of the evening, which was Cody Rhodes taking on Carmelo Hayes. This was a non-title match, but it didn't really matter. Cody coming out wearing his WrestleMania 39 attire. Boom, right here. So I thought that was great that he's kind of wearing that attire, you know, since it's California, so it goes. So he was wearing that attire. Thought he looked great. Him and Carmelo Hayes had a pretty good match. You know, it wasn't very long. It was like 7, 8 minutes, kind of the average time all these dark matches kind of went. Maybe actually a little later than that, because I feel like when I was leaving, it was a 7:45, so we almost got like an hour worth of dark matches. But it was good. It was back and forth action. You know, Carmelo Hayes got a lot more, you know, a lot more offense than I thought he would have, to be perfectly honest. He's able to counter, you know, Cody's cutter and hit his own cutter of his own. It was kind of like what you can do, I can do better type of thing they were kind of doing. So that's kind of what the theme of the match was. But it was good. It was solid. Towards the end of it, Cody was able to hit the Cody cutter, followed by the Crossroads for the 1, 2, 3, defeats Carmelo Hayes. So it was a good match, you know, nothing special, but it was a nice little showcase for Carmelo, you know, being in a dark main event with the world champion. There's nothing wrong with that. So Cody defeats Carmelo Hayes, and because the crowd kept chanting, "We want tables all night," you know what Cody does? And actually, I forgot to mention this. At one point in the match, Carmelo Hayes teased taking a table out because the crowd was chanting, "We want tables." Pulled it out, but then of course, you know, put it back. He's like, "Nah, I'm not doing that." And Cody's like, "You know what? Since you want it, I'll give it to you." Cody got the table, threw it in there, powerbomb Carmelo Hayes, and that was it for me. After that, I was like, all right, I'm done. I left right after that happened, but as I was leaving, I heard Cody on the mic, but I couldn't make out what the hell he was saying. As I got closer to the exit, because I was in the upper section, so I had to get down, but as I was getting closer to the actual exit, I did hear him say something like, "Oh, I'll give this, you know, piece of table to a lucky fan." And I did see on Twitter that I guess the whole thing was whoever the loudest fan was, he was going to give a piece of broken table to. So it was just pretty much saying goodbye. And, you know, honestly, I just didn't care. The amount of years I've been going to wrestling shows, I'm at the point where I don't need to see everything. And at that point, I didn't want to be potentially stuck in a parking garage for an hour trying to get out because everyone else is trying to leave as well. So I figured I'd try and, you know, leave a little bit earlier than everyone else, you know, was staying there to listen to him talk. So it wasn't anything special anyways. Like I said, I think it was just him thanking everybody and saying he wants a piece of his table. So wasn't anything special, but yeah, I left during his promo, but his music was hitting as I was exiting the door. So I didn't really miss anything. I just didn't hear what he said. So, and that was the show. That was Friday Night SmackDown, the taping. All in all, I had a great time. I thought it was a fun show. I had to go solo because Audrey was attending a concert, so she wasn't able to go with me, which is fine. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, going solo, and honestly, the show flew by. You know, it was almost a 3-hour show from start to finish, and it honestly flew by. I mean, it wasn't a fantastic show or anything. I don't think anything I'll look back and have a lot of memorable thoughts about it, but LA Knight and Andrade had a fantastic match. You know, Lyra and Liv killed in the dark match. And it was an overall fun show. I don't think there was anything genuinely bad on this show. Even the Apollo Giovanni Vinci match, even though it was very short, and I don't understand why Giovanni Vinci lost again. I thought, you know, the quick back and forth they had and the hard-hitting chops they're able to do was entertaining for the time period. So all in all, I gotta say Friday Night SmackDown was an enjoyable taping. Like I said, the show absolutely flew by. It was one thing, man, the Kevin Owens show. That's what this SmackDown was, the Kevin Owens show. He was all over it. Once they showed him, it was him from start to finish. He was in 4 or 5 different segments if you count the backstage stuff. Yeah, so this was a Kevin Owens show. I had no problem with it. I love that Kevin Owens got the love. Very happy to get Kevin Owens love and appreciation. And overall, I had a great time at SmackDown. Hope you guys had a great time watching this video. If you guys did, please leave a like below. And of course, until next time, I'll see you guys, and thank you guys for watching the video.